This is Ms. Norsworthy. Today we're going to be discussing organizational structures and informational text. There are many ways to organize ideas in a text. Authors typically choose a specific type of structure based on the topic and purpose for the writing. The most common ways texts are organized are chronological order, cause and effect, classification, descriptive, comparison and contrast, problem and solution, spatial order, and proposition and support. An author chooses a text structure in order to help the reader follow the ideas more easily. But remember, he or she may choose to combine these text structures for effect. Be on the lookout for combinations of techniques. For example, in Chasing Lincoln's Killer, you will see many types of organization in paragraphs. One paragraph may be organized chronologically, and then the next paragraph may be descriptive. Transitions often will cue you into a change in technique. Transitional words and phrases connect ideas and identify how ideas relate to each other. Here are some common transition words to look out for. First, second, third, next. You guys can read the rest. And here are some common transitional phrases. In contrast, yet on the other hand, in conclusion. We're first going to start with chronological order. In chronological order, the author lists events in the order in which they occurred. For an example, a biography about a person's life may begin with the person's birth and follow the person throughout his or her life until his or her death. But like I said, in Chasing Lincoln's Killer, we often have paragraphs that are just chronological. They will tell you the day or the time and then continue on with a change of time. Here are some common chronological order graphic organizers. You guys have all seen these. For example, if we were talking about brushing our teeth, we can put it in steps 1, 2, 3, and so on, or first, next, then, and last. The second type of organizational structure is cause and effect. Cause and effect is when the author describes an event or condition that causes other things to happen. For example, an author describes someone's burned hand was caused by touching a hot stove. Here are some examples of some graphic organizers for cause and effect. In Chasing Lincoln's Killer, causes and the effect. These might list the causes of what caused Booth to kill President Lincoln. That's the effect. Next we have classification. And classification is when the author is discussing similar ideas in each section or paragraph. A good example is a science book that divides different rocks into different sections. You might have one section that talks all about igneous rocks, and then the next section will talk about metamorphic rocks. Descriptive is when the author describes a scene with the descriptive words. You will see descriptive all throughout any novels or short stories or poems that you're reading. But just in Chasing Lincoln's Killer, which is nonfiction, we have several paragraphs that are written descriptively. Next we have comparison and contrast. This is where the author shows how two or more things are alike and how they are different. An example would be an article about airplanes and helicopters, and how they are the same and how they are different. You guys all know what a Venn diagram is. A Venn diagram will show the differences and the similarities between two things. This is a good example of a graphic organizer for a comparison and contrast organizational structure. The next structure is problem and solution. In this case, the author begins with a problem and offers up a solution before the end of the writing. For example, an article featured in a newspaper tells of the problem with beach pollution and ways to resolve the issue. In a problem and solution organizational structure, you will definitely see a problem and a definite solution before the paragraph or article ends. Next we have spatial order. And spatial order sounds just like space, meaning the author puts things in order based on their location in a specific place. A good example is an essay about the solar system, and it discusses the sun and moving out to each of the planets. Another good example of spatial order organization is when you are describing the setup of your room. If you're describing things based on their location, that is spatial order. Finally, we have proposition, also known as a claim, with support. We haven't seen this year, but this is when the text presents an argument, or also known as a claim, followed with support and evidence like data, examples, facts, quotations, and logical reasons. A good example of a proposition and support paragraph are your race writings. Race writing is definitely you presenting a claim or an answer with support. Another good example is an article in a newspaper stating that bottled water is harming the environment. And then it gives facts and examples proving how harmful bottled water is destroying the environment. Here are some just examples that we're going to do in class. So we look at number 1, we see some transition words like first, second, next, then, and finally. What organizational structure can we find these words? If you said chronological, then you are correct. Let's look at number 2. We have types of rocks. Igneous rocks are formed from melted rock that cools. Sedimentary rocks are formed from compaction and heat. I wonder what this can be an example of. If you said comparison and contrast, you would be correct. Look at number 3. We have words like more, better, less, best, easier, and than. If we're talking about how Nike shoes are better for running than Under Armour shoes, then that will probably be another comparison and contrast organizational structure. We have because, since, so, and as a result. That sounds to me like because Booth was angry at the fact that the Union won the Civil War, he decided to plot against Abraham Lincoln. That sounds to me like cause and effect. Let's do one more. What organizational structure is used in this paragraph? Becca wanted to do well in gymnastics. Every day after school, she would practice. While her friends went to the skating rink, Becca stayed in the gym. As a result of her hard work, she improved. Let's think about, is this chronological, comparison and contrast, cause and effect, descriptive? Well, it looks like that we have that Becca wanted to do well in gymnastics. We have that she would practice. Then we have a key word here, as a result. As a result usually means that this is a cause and effect. The effect is she improved her gymnastics. What is the cause? Yes, she practiced. Organizational structure can be confusing sometimes, but if you look for key words or transition words or transition phrases, you can figure out the organizational text structure. And remember that the organizational text structure is used for the author's purpose. If the author wanted to show which shoes are better, the author is going to use a comparison and contrast. If the author wanted to just describe in detail about a specific video game, then the author is going to use a descriptive text structure.